Welcome back. In Lab 5.2, you will learn how to daemonize a Docker container so that it will run in the background. Last time we saw how we could run a container as an application. It did some type of a process and it gave an output. But we want to do more with our Docker containers. We want them to stay running. You can see this one here. It started, it processed, and then it exited. Let's remove this to keep our container list clean. Docker run has a -d flag which allows the container to run in daemon mode. However, this is not going to accomplish what we want. Let's try it anyhow. We'll add a -d here. It's going to try to run in daemon mode. You noticed it gave us this long code instead of giving us the output that we expected. But you noticed it still stopped and exited. We can view the date inside of the container by viewing the logs. It just wrote it to the internal logs instead of displaying it to the screen. What we want to do is to create a process that does not exit. We will create an infinite loop using this logic here. While true, sleep for 1 second, and repeat. When we start the container next, we will execute this bash script that will never exit, and we can then run it in daemon mode. Let's try it. We will tell Docker run to start this container with this script. And if you forgot to remove the container from last time, it is easy. We'll just go Docker remove Alpine demo. Verify that all of our containers are removed, and then execute it again. Now we can verify that it is running. It has not exited because we gave it the shell command to run an infinite loop. We can now enter this container and execute commands in it while it is running in daemon mode. We can do this using the docker execute command. We need the int flags to give it an interactive terminal or shell. Then we need the name of the running container that we want to enter. And then we need to give it the specific shell we want to execute or to use. Because this is Alpine Linux, we will use sh instead of bash. Now we have the prompt in our running container that we started in daemon mode. We can look at the running processes by using the ps command. And the root process, PID1, is our infinite loop. If this process were to exit, the running container would then have to exit. But we'll just exit our shell. It isn't so convenient to run a container with this command attached to it. It would be better if this was inside of the image itself. But first of all, let's take a look at several other examples that use daemon mode. For example, Nextcloud, which uses Apache, which runs as a daemon process, one that never exits. So let's start our Docker stack. And we can use the docker compose execute here. Now we need to give it a command to run. This is using Ubuntu or Debian, so we can use bash. Now we have our prompt. If we view the running processes using top, you will see that Apache has the PID process of 1. If this process were to exit, we would then leave this shell because the container will exit. For example, and now we will see that the container had to restart because we have the restart flag set to always. Our Pandoc as a service from Lab 4 uses a different method to achieve a daemon process. It uses Node.js. It initiates an Express server, and then the Express web server is set to always listen on the specified port. This container will never exit until this Express server terminates. We will create a bash script to simulate a daemon process. Let's go back to our directory where our Docker file was. We will add some additional code here. We will create a file called entry point, and then we will copy this into the image. We will set the execute flag on our entry point file, and then we tell the image to start a container running our entry point script. So let's save and exit, and now we need to create our script. I will copy and paste it from our website. We need the shebang up here that tells it to execute it using the sh shell. And then we have a single line for our infinite loop. Save and exit. We can now create our image. We should create it using a different name. We already have one called Alpine Demo Test and date. Let's create it with a daemon tag. Docker build -t demo daemon. You can see on step 4 that it copied the entry point shell file inside of the image. Let's verify that it exists, and then we will start it. There is our image. We will give it a new name. We will put the D letter at the end of it to symbolize that this is a daemon process. And of course, we want to use the image that we just created. And here is our running container with the command entrypoint.sh. And you can also see that Nextcloud also uses a shell script for their entry point file. but the shell script initiates an Apache process, not just spins an empty loop. We can now view the running process inside of the container. Oops, I forgot the interactive flag. That looks better. You can now see that our entry point file is the root process. And we told our Docker file to place this in the root. We can view the contents of it. In this video, we demonstrated how to run a container using a specific command to keep it running in daemon mode. This is not ideal. Instead, we created an entry point shell file to create the daemon process when the container runs. This process starts when the container runs and never ends. And then we can achieve a daemon process with our Docker container.